All right, welcome back to the Let's Talk Nonsense podcast, where the alcohol flows freely and so do the host's poorly formed thoughts. I'm Caleb, and with me as always is my partner,
Jarrod. What's going on, guys?
And of course we have Nigel, the papier-mâché skull, who acts as our sound engineer and our resident kicking dog. Fuck you, Nigel.
Also our unofficial mascot, because he shows up drunk, he's lazy, and also he's dead inside.
So, dead inside.
Exactly. So he is a perfect representation of us in this show, I feel like.
All right, Jarrod, we got a very important guest coming on today, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick explanation of what happened last week, and I'm actually going to let Jarrod explain what happened, why we took the week off, the events that transpired just before that.
Yes. All right. Well, February the 2nd, 1942. No, I'm just kidding. It was February the 2nd, earlier this month. I took my dog out for a walk that night, and he chased after something. I still don't know what, but I chased after him because I didn't want him to wander off and not come back or whatever. During the chase, I found a hole. I stepped in a hole and I fucked my ankle up. It was just an ankle sprain, which I always thought of as something that was really mild, but holy crap, it was incredibly painful. I couldn't walk for like a week and a half. I missed, I think, 17 days of work. I'm back at work now. I'm ambulatory again. So
ambulatory means able to move.
Indeed.
For those of our listeners who are in countries that don't use that word very frequently, like the United States.
Yeah, it's not a very common word. I learned it by watching a war movie, and I just love throwing it into random sentences.
No, it's impressive. My nipples got a little bit hard.
Ooh.
Not going to lie.
What else is hard?
By the way, for our listeners who have been listening for a while, you might recognize that is the exact same injury on the exact same foot that I had when we first started the show. You were my Sherpa up the mountain of walking again. I was. I walked you through it like I was a Walkers Anonymous sponsor. For those of you who have been through an anonymous program. Let's see. Also, it was my birthday. That was fun. We had my birthday to you. We're actually going out tomorrow for my birthday. Woo! Or mostly just sat at home because I was broke on my birthday. That's the best way to spend your birthday.
Hey, we had fun.
Yeah, we did. No, that's what I was about to say. It's the best way to spend your birthday because it shows you who gives a shit. Because it's like, hey, you still showed up to party even though I have no food, no alcohol, nothing like that.
You brought me some beer.
Yeah. It was nice. All right, well, we're just going to move right on. I was going to give a quick shout out. There are a ton of platforms we're on. We're basically fucking everywhere now. So if you want to find us, you can search. You can Google. We're the first result on Google.
Exactly. We're like herpes without the blisters.
I'm just going to blaze right through where we're at. If you don't know and you're listening to us, that's a miracle, first of all. But second of all, and you want to know where we are, just visit us. The only one I'm going to give a full link for is facebook.com/Let's Talk Nonsense. The one is important because someone beat us to the punch.
Asshole.
But other than that, we are on Podbean. That's PODBEAN. That's Let's Talk Nonsense.podbean.com.
You're a liar.
I know. We're also on Google Play, Apple Podcast, Spoke, and Spotify.
Woo!
And all of those, you just need to search Let's Talk Nonsense, and we'll come up. You'll see our logo there. But we encourage everybody to join us on Facebook and get involved in the discussion. We're getting ready. I wasn't going to announce this, but fuck it, I guess I will. We're getting ready to launch a website, and we're going to have several people. I've already got a few people lined up. There's going to be to do blogs. I've got one person I think that's considering doing a video series, so it should be interesting. It's going to be a lot more than just the podcast. We're working on expanding the community.
We're diversifying.
We have some more news about that later in the show, so stay tuned for the end there when we talk about that.
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
All right, and our guest today is going to be a friend of mine named Niko House. I've been following him for a while. He is an independent journalist who found his calling while serving as the president of the UNC, that's University of North Carolina, Students for Bernie Sanders. He also uncovered some suspicious activity on the part of the DNC during the campaign process. He broke that story on Facebook and via YouTube videos and just latched right on there and never let go. He followed that story and many others, and he's been on the ground for several major events since then, like Standing Rock and the DNC fraud lawsuit. His network, the Mi Casa Su Casa network, is working hard to bring reason and truth to reporting and conversations about issues that we are facing today. So I'm pretty pumped to have him on, and
I am really fucking excited also.
It's a little bit of break tradition to us. We pre-recorded this introduction, so it might be a little bit jumpy going from what we're talking now to what we're talking whenever we get started with him.
Just pretend it's the ocean. It's kind of choppy sometimes.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoy it.
So I was in debate in college, which was a good time. It was actually if you wonder where a lot of the neoliberals get their mindset from, or you want to know how a lot of them think, being a debater in college is like one of the best ways, because like these people end up being the elites. Like Ted Cruz, whenever he ran for office, when he was running for president, we actually had press inside of our debate tournaments asking the debaters questions about whether or not we approved of the things he was saying. But back then it was like dominantly conservative, and now it's just dominantly neoliberal. But there was one guy who was progressive, and he actually invited me to lead the Carolina, not just UNC, but all of the Carolina schools, which I accepted with some reluctancy. I had no idea who the hell Bernie Sanders was, because when I looked up his information, he was like polling at 2%, and it was like a 4% margin of error. And I'm not like the type of person who likes to waste my time. But I watched some of the stuff that he did in the past, and I listened to it was an interview with, I think, Katie Couric. And whenever she was she was asking him questions, and he was like, yeah, well, universal health care. There's no reason we shouldn't be the only Western industrialized nation without universal health care. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, but people don't say that. And then he started talking about institutional racism, and I'm like, yo, that's political suicide. You shouldn't do that. But he kept doing it. And so he coaxed me over onto his team, and, haven't looked back.
Man, I'm in a similar boat there. I was a lifelong Republican. I worked for the Young Republicans Association of Northeastern Alabama, doing publicity and speeches and things like that for them for the whole time I was in high school and coming up, right up until I joined the Navy. And when I joined the Navy, I joined it with a fairly conservative mindset and everything like that. Of course, I met some people, in the Navy, some family of yours as well.
That guy
woke me up to like, oh shit, maybe it's not just all white people who have it decently fair off and can succeed, just by walking out and trying to get a job, and then bam, there you go. And so I'd kind of changed a little bit in that, but who are my options? Fucking Hillary Clinton.
Two Republicans. What do you mean, man? You used to be a young Republican. You should be ecstatic.
Yeah, well, she is a Republican in Democrats' clothes, and I think if you don't see that, you're a little bit, not you specifically, but just in general, people are silly if they don't see that she's basically a Republican wearing blue. But that was my journey towards him as well. I started out like, oh, this guy's a no name, he's going nowhere, and then I started getting hopeful. Like, I think a whole generation of people our age looked at that guy and went, hey, look, it was like the healthy version of what Trump's supporters ended up being. We were looking at the guy and he's speaking his mind, he's saying the truth. We feel that way too. We want someone to represent us. And then, as you know very well, and we'll get into, the DNC made sure that we didn't matter at fucking all.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate because it's almost as if the Republican Party in my assessment would have been almost eliminated if Bernie Sanders would have won. And it's not because it wasn't because of how great Bernie was. It was because of how he made everybody more aware and more awake. And in order to he would have to go way too far right and start implementing policies that wouldn't help anybody, right? Because Bernie Sanders, when his tax plan come through and he actually helps small businesses, which neither party does. When his education comes through and you found out your child, who otherwise wouldn't have even had a fair shake at getting into college, can now go to whatever public school they want to, and it'll be paid for no matter if it's in their state or somewhere else. People start going to school, their experiences kind of make them, like when you went to the military, your experiences are your education, or I would say more so in college than the actual education you receive. And when you compound all these factors, people will just grow away from the Republican Party because, let's be honest, they call educated people elitists and, libtards and whatever. And there's an element of truth to that because there is a huge amount of elitism in the neoliberal world. However, on the other side of that, they don't realize that the establishment Republican Party is doing the same thing to them, but in reverse. It's keeping them blindly ignorant, whereas the neoliberals are keeping the left, educated but still ignorant.
Man, and you know what? That's one of the founding reasons behind Let's Talk Nonsence. Like, we wanted to create a community where people could come together and have like rational conversations about things. Because like me and Jarrod, we have different political opinions, and yourself and I have different political opinions in different aspects, and we've talked about those, on your page on Facebook and things like that. And, there's no reason that we have to be as polarized as we are. And when you look at it, it's like, it's obvious to me that's a tool. Like that polarization is a political tool.
Yeah, divide and conquer. I mean, it's way easier that way.
It's insane.
Us versus them.
It's just like you're saying. You've got the intellectual elite on the left who are, they're so
intellectual.
Yeah, they're so intellectual that they can't have a base conversation with someone who doesn't have the same vocabulary that they have,
right,
or doesn't have the same income that they have. They just they shun you because, oh well, you're not as successful as me, or you're not going to do this. You don't know what I know.
And on the other side, it's the inverse of that.
Yeah,
like, oh, you're educated, I can't talk to you. You better than me, or you think you're better than me.
Which I think upsets us more. Like, I think I get more upset at the conservative side of it simply because I'm exposed to the conservative side. That's all we see.
I think it's both. I'm about to say I get more upset at the neoliberal side. I mean, the truth of the matter is that you're right. I would say that divide and conquer, it works, and it has been working. Hell, we can look at this gun issue right now. And there's a lot of details about that shit, by the way, that are really suspect and sketch. And this is coming from somebody who lives right down the street from the shooting. I mean, like the fact that there was 26 minutes of camera missing, and this is something that people don't know. I know because I know a guy who knew him and knew the kids involved, and he went to Subway and Walmart, and when they saw him, they just arrested him, which is really suspect because usually when somebody kills 17 people, they don't walk out alive. And they surrounded the school, by the way, with 20 cop Suburbans. And this kid got out, even though they still knew that he was supposedly the suspect.
I don't mean to cut you off, but speaking of this, while we're on this topic, because this is the perfect time to talk about this. I just read a breaking story. I don't know if you've heard it yet or not, so I want to get your reaction on it. You've heard, I'm fairly certain you've probably heard about that one, the resource officer that
Scott Peterson.
That just stood outside. All right, bro, listen to this. I found out there were 4 of them.
Yeah, there were 3 other deputies that.
Only if good cops had guns or good guys had guns, man, they could do something about that.
They're supposedly good guys with guns. They're good guys in a uniform with an issued weapon who have been trained to stand outside.
But let's give teachers guns, and I'm sure that situation will turn out much better, right? And it's crazy. What I find interesting is, and this is, of course, this is like a broad generalization, but it's funny because all the cops that have killed minorities or kids or women in the past, with people who are completely unarmed, right? They go in there all macho, oh, boom, 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 they're dead. And I feared for my life. This was a crazy situation. And then in a situation where they really fear for their life, we know exactly what would happen. You wouldn't pull out your gun, you'd be fucking paralyzed.
You'd be running away.
Because that's what happened. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They had an opportunity to prove, oh, not only do I fear for my life, but I have other people that I have to protect, which is the only reason I have this uniform on. Right? So this was the good guys doing. This was the whole point of you having the fucking gun to begin with. Was to do some shit like this, be a fucking superhero. And look what happened.
They took their cape.
Look what happened.
They pushed right out.
And they did.
You know what always confused me about the whole, I feared for my life, as an excuse for shooting and killing someone. We have soldiers, which you know well. I don't know if you tell her. I can edit this out and post if not, but you were in the Army.
Yeah.
And, we have soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines who are in the line of fire constantly that have rules of engagement that they can't, they constantly fear for their lives. They're going down the streets of Fallujah when they were
every single day.
It's not an excuse to go on a killing spree. I'm afraid. Ta, 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 ta.
Yeah. I don't want people to think that I'm anti-gun, by the way, because I'm really not. I don't really care either way because I just understand that the root of the problem has nothing to do with guns. And people don't want to admit that. And it's not like one of those, you wouldn't take away your truck if you, I'm like, that's not even a fucking rational, logical argument. Yeah. First of all, motherfucker, I don't drive my truck to kill people every day. The reason the truck was invented had motherfucker Ford did not invent a Ford truck. It was we about to kill all kinds of motherfuckers with this shit. No, the gun is a killing machine. That is its sole purpose. Yeah. But at the same time, the United States is very unique. We have a unique population, a uniquely diverse population, a uniquely corrupt government, and our population also has unique experiences that are inherent when you have a uniquely corrupt government, as in the black people, then the Irish, or Irish, then black people, then women, and then it was this hierarchy of who got privilege when, forgetting that still has an impact on how much money your family or your name is worth today. Having real estate, having a business like the Rockefellers, the JP Morgans of the world, Carnegie Mellon, those people. And so that trickled down into Chicago areas because of gentrification, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, hostility in the South because of racism and Jim Crow and slavery. And then on the West Coast, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. They're just in their whole different world. But, they had but police brutality started picking up because of the drug war, which affected the West Coast and the East Coast. So all of these things happen once again, which is so ironic because that's really where the problem is. Because our government is fucking shit. That's why all of these things happen. You don't let slavery exist ever if you're a good government, right? Like 200 fucking years of allowing some shit like that to go on means you're not that good. Our founding fathers were great. After that, these motherfuckers are not. They weren't really that bright. Presidents usually aren't.
Yeah.
But think about the black market. If we really wanted to stop the illegal sale of arms across borders, do you think we would really have problems doing so?
No, probably not.
But my thing is, if we fix the economy, then I don't need a gun to go rob you because I'm doing well enough myself.
Exactly.
Right? If I'm educated, then the odds of me feeling like I need to resolve my situations with guns probably going to be a little less because I'm probably going to try to have a good job, take care of my family, and I don't want to be in a situation where I can lose my. I don't want to risk everything to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Because you never know how that's going to turn out. So all of a sudden you start checking off these blocks of things our government should be taking care of daily. And all of a sudden, I don't feel the need to have a gun. Or if I do have one, I'll keep it at an armory. Because I like shooting. It's fun as shit. Like, nobody's going to fucking argue with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that somebody's going to run up on me and one day I'm just like waiting for a motherfucker to have an AR-15. Like, I can't wait for the one fucking time in my life that I use this. And I'm probably not going to because I'm going to be a pussy and run away. Let's be honest, man. It's a fucking AR-15. So...
I wonder if that's part of the training when you get the uniform and all that stuff. I know a lot of brave policemen. Jarrod is kin to some policemen.
I am.
There are a lot of policemen that I respect that I think are brave, but I wonder how much of it, because I've been in the military, and even in the military to a certain extent they train you safety. They're always beating you over the head with safety. Man. And I wonder how much of that bleeds through into the mentality of being afraid for your life and acting violently because of it.
Yeah, that's true. Because even in response, drill instructors act violently when you fuck up.
Yeah.
A safety. Fuck is the word. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, when and I think there is obviously you do want to practice safety, and I think that should be. But the hyper paranoia, I feel like that's doing too much because your fucking adrenaline's going to kick in anyway.
Yeah.
We're just safety. Because I don't want somebody to freak out when it's like, oh my God. I don't want to fucking deal with somebody who freaks out because we've been taught to freak out when somebody isn't being safe. It's go up to that person and say, hey, make sure you're put that barrel down range, not at me. Thank you. And that will resonate a lot lot
I don't want to die. I want to go home and see my family. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
good point. I shouldn't mention him.
They call it breaking blue in the Navy, Jarrod. And for our listeners, we have some listeners in the UK and Ireland and Italy and places like that probably don't get anywhere near U.S. military jargon, but it's called breaking blue. If you turn and you're at the shooting range, right? Mm-hmm. You've got your gun pointed down range,
right?
Your weapon, I should say, if we're talking military terms, but you got your weapon pointed down range, and if you turn and that barrel goes outside of that 180-degree line in front of you, they will slam your ass.
Pull that.
Yep, they'll snatch that gun out of your hand and put you on the ground in a heartbeat.
I almost did that.
Which is way too overreactionary. It's way too reactionary. It's not productive. It's funny to watch, though.
Speaking of our international audience, I don't want to assume they don't know, but at the same time, I also don't want to assume that they do. Would you care, Niko, to describe, what progressive politics mean to you, and what that movement's about? What's your part in that?
Man. Funny enough, a lot of people align progressivism with being on the left, and I've never thought of it like that, but I guess that's what was adopted over time. But I've always thought of progressivism as somebody who wants progress. I think there's a clear dichotomy of between right, left, and someone who wants progress.
Yeah.
right? Because there are a lot of people on the left who I would consider the regressive left, if you will. The Hillary Clintons, the people who want to use their marginalized status as a person, whether it be a woman, black person, Latino, or whatever, to victimize themselves. And use that as a reason to vote for them or not vote for somebody. Or like when I heard people saying that we don't need another old white man running for office, I was like, well, if that old white man was strapping himself to a fucking black woman to protect her from going to jail during civil rights, I think I can live with that. Don't fucking speak for me. Like, or there, for example, another good example is I would say Rand Paul. I don't always agree with Rand Paul, right? But I can say that I would consider Rand Paul a progressive in most ways. He wants to move forward. He wants to move past this military industrial complex that we have. I may not agree with your solutions, but that doesn't mean you're not a progressive. It just means that we have different solutions to the same conclusion, but we ultimately want the same conclusion. But I think when you get for the extreme right and the extreme left, none of them want the same conclusion. In fact, I would say that Trump galvanized his supporters by promising to go to regress.
Yeah, indeed.
You know?
Straight. That's exactly what he.
Which is crazy. He's like, make America great again. I'm like, motherfucker, 50 years ago, my mom couldn't even eat and drink at the same restaurant you do in the South. And you talking about make America great again. I'm like, bro, we still haven't gotten there yet.
Well,
you know,
the point was America great when we were committing genocide against the Native Americans or enslaving an entire continent of people and bringing them over here to pick cotton, or when we were in Jim Crow laws and given separate water fountains, or when we were persecuting homosexuals in New York by busting into gay bars.
I would say one of the few times that you can say America was great was when the founding fathers put away all of their biases, all of their personal feelings again. I'm not a fucking idiot. Most of the founding fathers are probably racist as hell, but they still designed their language like that. This is more than about our personal grievances. We need to be able to make sure that our Constitution can change and our society and our culture can change as time changes, because as we've seen, that's what has started war after war after war within a country. That's what started internal revolutions, is when the rules and laws don't change as culture changes. And so that was probably in my opinion, one of the most historically great moments in world history, which is that you made this malleable, thing. I don't even know what you want to call it, because it's supposedly representative democracy. But here's the problem with that. Like, I was talking to a guy who does a lot of research on like the founding fathers, and we're supposed to have 6,000 members of Congress right now, but Congress limited that, of course, so that we could continuously have stalemates and they could keep using seats as political bait. Because lobbyists can't pay off 6,000 motherfuckers. They can pay off like 150. They can pay off like 300, but 6,000, I don't know about that. It's a lot of money, but I don't know about that much.
Yeah, it's sick to me. The whole lobbyist. Jeez, man.
So popular.
It's my mom wanting to video chat with me for some reason right now. Stop it!
My mom never wants to video chat with me. Like, my mom doesn't want to talk to me on the phone.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, make sure somebody's dying or anything.
That's what I'm thinking. But why would she not just talk? I don't know. I fucking understand.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Sorry, man. His mom's calling him. You gotta.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. You should have her on the show.
Yeah. What I was gonna say though, man, is I think the lobbyist, the whole idea of a lobbyist is fucking sick to me. Like the fact that we allow, it's bribery. To me, it's clear that it is just bribery.
Oh yeah, it is. There's no other.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But
there's no other way around it but describe it as bribery. We can attach whatever name to it we want to, but it's bribery, yeah.
Absolutely. And hey, you made a good point a while ago. You said, the founding when America was great was when the founding fathers were laying out the Constitution, and they made the language where it's capable of, being inclusive. It wasn't exclusive language. Which I agree with, man.
And they were clear about that.
I think the power of words is an amazing thing, which is why I feel like people like you and I do the things we do, with Let's Talk Nonsence and with your Mi Casa Su Casa network, which for all of our listeners, we talked about the Mi Casa Su Casa network a little bit in the intro, but Niko, would you mind telling them where they can find Mi Casa Su Casa, what the best way to get in touch with you if they want to talk?
Yeah, so Mi Casa Su Casa is actually the name of my show, and then the MCSC network is technically that's what it stands for, yes. But the MCSC network is comprised of more than just my show. You can find that on YouTube. You can just type in MCSC network or Mi Casa Su Casa, either will come up. Or you can just type in my name, Niko, and then HOUSC. And you can go to that on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter. You can find me on podcasts, Podbean, iTunes, whatever. Like, you just type in my name, and I usually pop up pretty fast.
That's actually about exactly the way that we went through our intro for our own show. I was like, yeah, we're pretty much fucking everywhere. Just type in Let's Talk.
Yeah, literally, it's funny because, and this is just one of my flex moments, I'm personally fucking proud of this shit because I put up with a lot of bullshit. People thought I was crazy whenever I first broke that information about all the shit that WikiLeaks eventually released, and then the Hillary Victory Fund. I talked about that like in March of 2016. People thought I was crazy. And then by the end of it, like, you type in my name, and like I'm on the first 2 pages on fucking Google. It is dope because it's like, Mom. Or whenever somebody's talking shit, like I was at my old job, somebody was like telling me about the Arabs and why that region has always been historically just a shitty region. I'm like, yeah, because we haven't been in civil wars for literally the last 150 years. But whatever, like, we're constantly in wars. He was like, well, why do you think they want to come over here and kill us? I'm like, bro, we've been trying to kill them. Like, we've been literally in the Middle East. We created an entire doctrine that said, with Carter Doctrine, if you invade the Middle East, we're going to blow you up. And there was no explanation given. But we know it's because we want their resources. We want to manage that community. So I'm like, with 9/11, let's say, for example, it isn't a fucking random conspiracy, which is kind of hard to sell me at this point that wasn't an inside job to a degree, or at least that we knew about it. But let's just say that was a legitimate attack. Attacks just don't happen for no reason. Motherfuckers didn't wake up one day and say, Leo, I'm going to invest all my time, effort, and energy into learn how to fly this fucking plane so we can take them, so we can just blow them up because they're Christian Americans. That shit doesn't make any sense. There is no logic in that. And so you gotta like kind of contextualize it, which is, but essentially, I had to tell him, like, yo, that's not right. This is how I know this isn't right. And he was talking so much shit to me about it. He was like, who the fuck are you anyway? How the hell do you know this shit? I was like, I threw my fucking iPad on the table, or I threw my phone on the table, like, fucking Google me. You'll figure it out. Like, and it was like the dopest fucking shit ever. Everybody was like, oh, there. He was like, yeah, whatever, what the fuck ever. And then, so of course, they type in NI, and my name comes up fucking fast, like the first, like, all the fucking auto search results in the first 2 pages. It was dope. I was like, yeah. I mean, like, I was like a little kid on the inside, like, yeah, motherfucker, that's what the fuck I thought. But it was
we had a little party when we found it. Well, not really. We were in separate houses, but we were cheering each other on. The first time we went to Google and searched "Let's Talk Nonsence," we were the top Google result. We were like, hell fucking yeah, man.
Dope.
I started messaging people like, hey, check this out. Google. But hey, man, we were talking about the power of words a while ago, and that brought me to a video I just got done watching of yours. I think you uploaded it a day, maybe 2 days ago. But if you don't want to rehash it, that's fine. I understand. But I had a couple of questions about the Tom Friedman thing. Like, what your thoughts are?
Oh man, that dickhead. Is Trump a threat to our democracy? No. Like, Trump is a threat to our democracy in the sense that, like, he has, in my opinion, deviated from the image he portrayed himself as being. So he's pretending like he was outside of the establishment, which is why even I was like, well, shit, it's better than what we got, and it's damn sure better than Hillary. And that's why people liked him, and that's why a lot of these political commentators on the right pretended as it, like Mike Cernovich, Alex Jones, so a few others, they always like, yeah, that's why I like him. That's why I like him. Now, of course, he's been in lockstep with the establishment. They've been praising each other back and forth for pretty much since, he got elected. And people forget the reason that you liked him is because he hated those guys. Right? They hated him, he hated them. But now we're invading Syria. DACA, I would rather DACA be here. But he promised to get rid of DACA, 7 months ago, and then he just stopped talking about it, and then all of his supporters forgot that he didn't do it. And then we had come the government shutdown. Everybody was like, oh, it's the Democrats' fault. It's partially their fault, but on his side, they were like, it's the Democrats' fault. And I'm like, motherfucker, he said he was gonna get rid of this 7 months ago, and he just convinced y'all that it was the Democrats' fault that he didn't get rid of it 7 months ago when he had the ability to. And Nobody asked why. The reason why is because, well, him and Bibi Netanyahu are really good friends, and Israel and AIPAC have already made it very clear that they benefit heavily from DACA, so he's not getting rid of it. But once again, because of the power of Donald Trump using the ignorance of his followers, it's a lot of shit. But he used that power to coax them into believing like anything. And so the divisiveness that can come from Donald Trump could be a threat to our democracy going forward. But he himself, no. What is a threat to our democracy is intelligence communities lying, and then being so surprised when they're fired for not doing their job correctly, like James Comey. That's a fucking problem. And then who do we hire? Oh, we hired James Comey's old fucking boss. Oh, what a surprise. And then who do we put in charge of the Russiagate investigation? Oh, just this woman who took all this money from Hillary Clinton and her friends to run for fucking office. Like, I'm sure there's no conflict of interest. And then Andrew McCabe took that money from Hillary Clinton's like little fan club while he was investigating her email scandal, like at the same time. So that is what I would consider a threat to our democracy at the end of the day, because, well, the truth of the matter is the appeal to authority is strong in this country because we've been conditioned like that. We believe that the FBI is infallible and that the CIA is working within our best interests, and the CIA was never created to work within our. Essentially, they said, okay, we create the FBI. Well, we also need a CIA. So we can tell them they're doing the exact same shit as the FBI, but we're doing some whole other different shit that they don't need to know about. That is exactly what they do.
Yep. As a matter of fact, if you go back to the history of the CIA, it was originally the Office of Naval Photography, the Office of Naval. It was two Navy, basically intelligence organizations before an intelligence organization was an intelligence organization. But they were working under the Department of Defense. They were, all legit. It was all open as far as, not the secrets, but their finances and who they answered to and all that stuff was all very clear. And then watching the history of like how it all formed and the agencies that came together to make the CIA, all it really did, first of all, it gave it a cool name that they could sell T-shirts for. Yeah. And second of all, it just muddied the waters. Like that's all that formation did, was it just took a very clear pipe,
which is intentional.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was solely,
and they made excuses for why they have to muddy the water.
Yep.
It's for your own good, people.
Well, hey man, I was also going to bring up, we kind of blazed right past it a while ago, so it'll seem a little bit choppy to our listeners probably, but
it'll be all right. It's called Let's Talk Nonsense. You got to keep up. It's your job, not ours.
Hey, and we're a little bit off our game too. We forgot to get beer today, so we just took a few shots of vodka. It's a weird episode, but
we're not intoxicated enough.
No,
that's funny.
I was gonna see if you knew about. Jarrod's got the information pulled up, so I'll let him lay out the information. But these teachers in West Virginia, you saw that article up, buddy?
Give me 1 second, and I will.
So, Niko, have you heard about the teachers union in West Virginia and like what they've been able to accomplish in the last few days?
Not the teachers union. I know that the kids have been marching around, but I didn't know the teachers union actually achieved something. I didn't know that they were allowed to have a union in West Virginia. I'm not going to lie, so that's also a surprise.
It might not actually be a union, but if it's not, then all the unions need to shut down because they have been more effective than any union.
Yeah, I mean, unions are full of neoliberals too, so.
And here's Jarrod with the news.
The American Federation of Teachers, West Virginia, the West Virginia Education Association, and the West Virginia School. Okay, I'm done with that voice. Yeah. Service personnel.
Some people do that literally every day.
Organized the statewide action, which left more than 250,000 students out of school on Thursday and Friday in the state's 55 counties. So it's
the entire state school system shut down.
Exactly, and that's not just teachers.
Over the shooting?
No, for pay. They're ranked 40.
Hot damn Bojangles.
Yeah. Let's see.
You know what's funny about that? You know that was one of the first states that Bernie Sanders met with.
Huh.
Remember, I don't know if you remember, he went on that tour across all the southern states and like the coal mining states, the textile states, and was like, what do we need to do to get y'all back on your feet? and he's talking about unions and healthcare and all that stuff. So that's funny. That's crazy though. I would never expect that of West Virginia.
For real, not at all. Especially that much unity. And
what was funny is the way it went down. Basically, they the governor. It was the governor that passed that, right?
Correct.
The governor passed a bill basically giving them a 2% raise, and they basically threw both middle fingers up in the air and shut the whole fucking state down.
So what you're telling me is some teachers from West Virginia could shut the state down on a 2% raise, Royce, but when we were in, there was what? 1% raise one year, 2% raise, 1%. We have weapons, combative training, and literally the base cannot run unless we're there. And we took 2% up the ass. Mm-hmm. Why these teachers? Oh man, that puts life into perspective for you right there.
Could you imagine if more industries would do things like that? Like imagine if the military, which obviously we wouldn't because we took oaths and all these other things that we have more reason than just money to be there for the most part. But if workers would get together like that on a statewide level and be like, well, there's not going to be any steel produced in this state because you're not paying us. Yep. Like, fuck it all. We're leaving.
Yeah, that has happened. We know that's happened. Like, it's happened in New York. It's unfortunately, it's only really happened in the blue states because when the South has convinced people that unions are just inherently bad.
Which is so terrible. Like, I know people, very close to me, related to me, who work in shit conditions for shit pay. And
they think that's what they deserve.
Yeah.
They think that's all they can.
Yeah, and
they're trained.
I asked him, like, what are you doing? You're handling the budget for 60 some odd people and an entire corporation. You're going in, you're handling money in and out, and they're paying you less than they're paying McDonald's workers. Mm-hmm. And you think,
oh hell no.
How is that okay? And
it's not.
They'll be like, oh, I can't come to this event because I'm having to work, and it's like Saturday at 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, how the hell are you working on a Saturday at 3:00? You're supposed to be Monday through Friday. Oh yeah, well we have these trainings we have to show up for. Do you get paid? No. What? I pay you gas.
Oh hell no.
Fuck that.
Nah.
To go starting.
Hell no.
Get the hell out of there, man. Jeez.
Nah, I'm okay with that. That's not happening. You're right though. You know what's funny? The military should form a union, and if they formed a union, oh Jesus. And you know what's funny? What's funny is I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sooner rather than later. I would not be surprised because we need someone to actually advocate for soldiers' rights, and we don't have that. And because of that, our military is dying because people are only going into the military a lot of the times now to make money, and that's not a good soldier.
Yep.
It's a fact. It's already been proven time and time again. If you force a soldier to fight for the country, they're not as effective. And you can force a soldier more than one way. You don't only have to draft them. You can indirectly draft them by fucking up their economic situation and forcing them in.
Which I think is what's happening, honestly. I think that's why tuition is allowed to continue to rise.
That's what I was about to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, that debt's bullshit, by the way. Don't pay. If you have student debt, hey, this is a Niko public service announcement. If you have student debt, don't pay that shit. Pay the bare minimum because it's not real. It is not real, people. And I've been telling people this for about 3 to 4 years now, since I was in college. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen the articles that have been rolling out talking about debt cancellation because they're getting tired of it. It doesn't exist. Colleges pay their expenses with grants. And that is the reason why Cam Newton can receive $200,000 and nobody say shit about it, because the sports also pay for the other part, other half of it. But they would never, any smart business person, and a college is a business, would never base their profits going forward off of whether or not someone's going to pay their loan back. That's $50,000. It's not reasonable. It's really not. So just understand. And then, of course, with private schools, they take out their own loans and they know you're going to pay them back. But also with the private school, it's not going to fucking hurt them. They're private school. Like Harvard is going to be hurt by one random kid not paying back $25,000. But yeah, it's not real. Student debt isn't real.
A lot of debt is the same way, honestly. Like I'm a champ.
Yeah.
I'm a champ at ignoring debt collection calls. I'll just pick.
Well, I'll be like, whoop, whoop.
They got their script they have to follow, and it's always like, hi, is this blah, blah, blah? And you're like, I don't know, who is this? And they're like, oh, this is a personal business matter between blah, blah, blah and this company. And it's like, oh, well, I don't verify information until I know what the phone call is about. and they can't fucking tell you what their phone call is about. But I answered.
Awesome.
Which is hilarious.
They can't.
Well, they shouldn't even have your fucking information anyway. You didn't give them permission to sell your debt, which is why they keep. That's another thing. That people are selling their student debt to debtors without getting it cleared and having it notarized, and that's why they're fucking. People are getting their ass whipped in court. Getting like they're ridding themselves of tens of thousands of dollars in student debt because they're just transferring debt. Like that's your personal information, that's your social security card, and all these people have been getting the major banks are getting their information stolen. You know what I'm saying? Like a fucking credit, like what was it, Equifax or TransUnion? Which
Equifax
one of them?
is the one that got hacked, wasn't it, Jerry?
I think
It's fucking Equifax. Like, if I don't want my information going somewhere without my authorization, period. And that's what's been happening because they don't want to pay the man. And they do it like that because they're hoping that people will take the settlements. And people are dumb enough to take the settlements every fucking day. Like, I'm like, don't fucking pay those dumbasses back. What were they going to do? They were going to say, oh, you didn't pay it back. Okay, and what? Because you pay the settlement, your credit is still fucked.
And those bullshit settlements are how you can tell that most of that debt isn't fucking real anyway. Because if it was real, if you really owed them $500, and that's what they needed to survive as a company from you, they wouldn't bring it down to 150 through a debt collector and be like, oh, it's fine, we'll forgive it. We're being altruistic. They're not being fucking altruistic. Yeah. That 150 is still fucking profit for them.
Mm-hmm. Straight profit.
Yep, it's profit for them. And like I said, your credit's still going to be fucked anyway if you pay it. So... I would rather just not pay it, and it'd be off my credit in 3 to 4 years versus, But you can get your credit repaired mad easy. Like it's credit isn't the same thing. Credit is a figment of fucking government imagination, like the free market and capitalism. They've convinced we forget in textbooks, for example. Well, we've been taught that the one that we have to have a free market because of scarcity. And that's why we fight over resources, which is bullshit. The resources are not scarce by any means. And then 2, that capitalism our competition is inherent in capitalism, which is the total fucking opposite. And we've never seen any example in history where capitalism fostered competition. It's never done it. The best example you can think of is the monopolies that formed in the late 1800s. But hell, the best example you can really think of is our federal fucking government, which is pretty much a corporation. It's the model where all corporations got their model from. We are destroying other nations or like their resources, ravaging them, destabilizing them because we don't want competition, not because we're excited about it. That's why we created free trade agreements. It's like, how the fuck you gonna have a free trade agreement? But that's a regulation, ain't it? You're regulating the amount of trade that can happen. Yeah. It's, in my opinion, it's fucking common sense. Like, people who think that capitalism is like this super like important, like capitalism is like, think of it like this fucking idea of like fair and free, and it's not. It's the total opposite. It's not even close. There's so much waste involved. There is the idea that everybody is inherently equal when it comes to their opportunities to be successful, and it's not. And yeah, I understand life isn't fair, but it's not the same thing. It's one thing when life isn't fair. It's another thing where they're preaching that everyone has equal opportunity when the same people are actively suppressing opportunity for others based off of demographics or whatever. So yeah, man, it's all scam pretty much.
You were talking about capitalism, which we don't get into finances a lot here on LTN, but when I see someone adamantly defending any social construct, like it could be socialism, it could be capitalism, it could be anything like that. When they're adamantly defending it, like this is the best system ever, in my head there is a fully animated cartoon playing of a feudal serf and just shit like, this is feudalism, it's the best system ever, this is the way the world will always work, it's just common sense. And it's like, no, bro, it's not.
Somebody argued with me on Twitter. They said, if you're a socialist, I'm like, why? You like Bernie Sanders, so clearly you're a socialist. I'm like, first of all, why are you saying socialist like it's a cuss word? Do you know what socialism is? Second of all, I was like, why does that mean? First of all, I was like, Bernie Sanders isn't a socialist either. He's a Democratic socialist. And I was like, and third of all, what would make you think that because I like Bernie Sanders as an overall candidate that I automatically am a socialist or a Democratic socialist? That's a fucking problem that we have in this country to begin with. And then he was like, well, what do you think that the best economic, theory is? I was like, how the fuck can I know until we figure out what the situation is? You want to give me a situation, and then we can make the best economic decision based off of that? He was like, why does it matter? I was like, once again, that's the fucking problem. You want to apply the same broad theories to every single scenario and expect to solve every single problem the exact same way.
And when you disagree with that and you approach it from a rational point, like, hey, maybe this is a very complex, intimate issue that is on an individual basis that we need to work out like finer points. They don't look at you like you're talking nonsense, which is why we started this podcast.
Nice little plug there. I like that. Hey, yeah, you're right though. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we're actually running a little bit close to the end of the time here. So before we get done, we had told the listeners that we have an announcement to make. We've been kind of advertising that on Facebook a little bit, and it was in the intro. I wanted to do it with you here because obviously you're going to be a big part of this announcement. But for our listeners, Jarrod and I and the podcast for Let's Talk Nonsence are going to be moving on to the Mi Casa Su Casa network, Niko House and his other talent and performers that are on that network. I haven't actually got to watch everyone on that network because I've been super busy trying to get this podcast running again. But Niko, if you want to tell us a little bit about, what they can expect from us being on there, what we can expect, working, going forward and all that stuff.
So for those of you who don't know, Royce already explained this, but I am actually a political commentator by profession at this point. And I wanted to expand my outreach and expand the amount of people who listen to not only political commentary, but to see how everything is related, right? So sports has always been related to politics and always been related to social issues, and social issues have also been related to politics, and politics is also, it's comedic, but just like we laugh about certain things that happen in life when it comes to comedy, like politics is just like that. We have to laugh to forget about how shitty everything is. And in these conversations that we have every single day now are about politics. Like in the barbershop, everything is about politics. It's always about sports. And then something reminds us of something about politics. We're like, oh, remember how that shit happened? And they had that walkout. You know why they don't talk about Oscar Robertson anymore? It's because he was the one who first told players what they were worth and da-da-da. And everything, like I said, comes back full circle. And I wanted to really hone that with a group of people who weren't about bullshit, to be totally honest with you. And that if we may not agree on everything, but I know it's coming from a legitimate place, and that some fans will be changed or will agree with you. And that's the goal, which is to hear a bunch of different platforms have pretty much the same ultimate goal, which is entertainment, of course, but also to tell their truth and help other people find theirs. But also to give everyone somebody to relate to. That was my ultimate goal. And not everybody from Alabama, who, even if you are progressive, can relate to somebody like myself, because maybe I speak too goddamn fast for you, and that's perfectly fine. I understand that. Or, maybe Caleb and Jarrod, they do a better job of translating what I'm saying for you. And that's fine with me. And that's what I want. I want everybody to have like a one-stop shop and also give platforms to people who want to help others grow.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons for our listeners and the people that have been with us since the beginning, since Let's Talk Nonsence started years ago, the Facebook group and page. It's a big reason why we agreed to do this, to join this network, is because we share a very similar goal. We founded the group, and Jarrod and I started the podcast so that we could have fun, we could keep it light, we could bring some levity to heavier issues. We've talked about sexual assault, we've talked about Christian issue, church issues, and we've got a few episodes. We've recorded a lot of episodes that haven't come out yet because of technical issues, but we're working on some like losing my religion episode, and we're doing some heavy shit, but we want to keep it as light as we can and tell it,
make it approachable.
And tell it from a perspective. What I get sick of, it seems like, how when a news reporter goes down anywhere, it doesn't have to be the South, it could be out west, it could be up in the north, it could be in Canada and Europe, wherever. They want to find the stupidest people to interview.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And the toothless grandma who hasn't been out of her hometown in her entire life to ask her what she thinks about international relations. And because of that, it feels like there's a lot of representation of angry white dudes who feel threatened by society changing around them, that they're not the top dogs anymore, and that they're not going to be they're not going to be the alpha male. And Jarrod and I are both very competitive people. We both have always grown up, I would say we're both alpha male type personalities. But we're not angry and we're not that scared by it. And I kind of like where things are going. You know, socially, I love the fact that we're talking about shit. I hate the fact that a lot of the people I love in Hollywood are being brought out and shown to be just complete pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm glad we're finding out. I'm glad we're talking about it. I'm glad these actresses aren't having to suffer. And I want to bring some levity to things like that. And it's a hard thing to do. And I can't expect other people to do it. So we were like, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves.
You know, it's interesting that you say about that, about the competition aspect of it, right? I'm extremely competitive myself. And my thing is, if you're legitimately competitive, I want everybody to start off at the finish line. I want everybody to have the same path to get to the same finish. Start off at the same fucking starting point and end up at the same finish line. We have the exact same path. That's the way I can actually know who's the best. And there are a lot of people out there who claim to be alpha males and claim to be competitive, but they only like it when the circumstances favor them.
Yeah.
And that's just not, in my opinion, that's not actual competitiveness.
Yeah, here at Let's Talk Nonsense, we say, fuck that. We're on hate on you evenly, and we'll love you all evenly.
Exactly.
But no, I look forward to interacting with your audience, Niko, and I hope that our audience follows us over to Mi Casa Su Casa and interacts with your audience, and we kind of merge.
Oh, I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be amazing.
I am too. We have a green screen and some video equipment and stuff coming in. We've got lighting and all sorts of stuff coming in. We got some new microphones coming in soon. You know, I love Joe Rogan, but man, have you ever seen him? He had Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That conservative guy.
That was a while ago, right?
Yeah, he had him on his show, and dude, he laid into that guy. Like,
did he? Oh, I gotta watch that shit. Oh, bro, I love Joe. People call him conservative, and I'm not really sure he's conservative. I think it's because of his former relationship with Alex Jones, and he tried to, be patient with him, but he doesn't fuck with Alex anymore, though. Like, he hasn't had him on in a while.
Shoot, I forgot what I was going to... Alex Jones made me think of something. Oh, shit. Have you ever heard the conspiracy... Do you know who is that comedian that everybody says became Alex Jones?
Oh, you mean Jimmy Dore? I know Jimmy.
Bill Hicks was a...
I thought you meant on the left. My bad. Because everybody's been calling him Alex Jones on the left, but it's been like a smear tactic. But go ahead.
No, there was this comedian that came out a long time ago. He supposedly committed suicide. His name was Bill Hicks. I love him to death. But he looks like... I get into conspiracy theories here and there, and like if you watch these conspiracy theories on YouTube, he looks like he could transform into Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is like the antithesis of everything he ever was, and Alex Jones is exactly the character he would be making fun of constantly. And like the conspiracy theory is that Bill Hicks became Alex Jones as a character, and it's just been fucking with us for years. It's crazy. They look very similar. Like,
wow.
Bill Hicks was younger, so he had hair and shit.
Where's Bill Hicks from?
Give me a second and I can tell you.
I think Oklahoma, but I might be wrong.
Little Rock, Arkansas.
No, Arkansas.
Oh, that's where he died anyway.
The reason I'm laughing is because, my producer for Mi Casa Su Casa on American Freedom Radio used to work with him, knew him personally, and used to talk about the fact that, holy shit, him and he's from Texas.
I know.
That's where I was from.
Some crazy shit.
Holy shit,
man.
And I wouldn't be surprised because I do truly believe that Alex Jones is a character.
Yeah.
I'm not naive. I think he is an ignorant prick. Also, yeah, he's from Texas too. Yeah, man, there.
Shit, dude.
He did used to be on the left. He used to be libertarian, socially liberal. Yeah. And I said, I wouldn't be surprised.
After this podcast, we have to wrap this up, but after this podcast, and for all of our listeners, go listen to Bill Hicks' stand-up routine and listen to the way he talks, and then imagine him imitating a Republican, just crazy conservative, way right-wing guy, and that's the voice of Alex Jones. It's insane.
Now I'm going to have to do it now. I'm going to have to look it up now. That's going to fuck with me.
I stay up late at night after I get done editing looking at shit like that. But anyway, man, hey, thanks for coming on today, Niko. We loved having you, and we're going to have you a lot more since we're going to be on your network.
Oh, definitely, man. Yeah, you're not getting rid of me that quick.
But hey, man, it was a pleasure. And Jarrod, you got anything to say before we go?
Dude, it was awesome having you on. I feel like I learned quite a bit today. So awesome.
Yeah. Oh, man. You should watch some of my videos. It might blow your mind a little bit. I don't even talk about the real shit on camera a lot. That's the behind the scenes camera. I talk about the real shit on my podcast though, because podcast audience is a little bit different. That's they're in your house and you're having coffee together, or maybe in your case some beer, and and you're just laying it out. You're just laying it out real for them. I love podcasts. A lot more intimate.
By the way, I love your intro, and Jarrod would too. Have you listened to any of his podcasts? Jarrod doesn't listen to our podcast, so don't take that offensively.
Too.
He does.
Oh, it's hard to listen to everybody else's podcast, man. It's fucking difficult.
I love your intro. Your good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I love that shit, man. That's a good sign on.
That sounds kind of like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's similar to that. Yes. So check it out, people.
We're going to do our outro real quick, but one more time for the listeners at home, Mi Casa Su Casa on YouTube, and they can find your Facebook.
Niko House. You can find me in Niko House or Niko D House. Both pages are me. And you can find me on any of the podcasting platforms, the major ones. Yeah, like I said, just type me in Google. Pretty much everything will come up. You can find me on.
All right. Well, thanks again, Niko.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that's been Let's Talk Nonsense. How do you feel that went, Jarrod?
I think it went fantastically. Thanks again to Niko House for coming on and hanging out with us for a while and talking to us. It was fantastic. We hope to have him on again soon, and we're super excited to be part of the Mi Casa Su Casa YouTube network.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think together, we've been growing fairly steadily, and Niko's been growing much quicker than us.
Exponentially so, yes.
But he's also talking about much more important things than we are.
Indeed. We are talking about nonsense, and he is talking about
the opposite. Well, the ultimate and opposite. It's the ultimate nonsense in that it's politics, and it's the opposite in that it affects people's lives.
Every single one of us, yes.
Man, I'm excited about that too. I look forward to some growth. I look forward to the launch of our website, which will be coming up as soon as I make enough money to do that, unless someone wants to donate.
Give us money.
Speaking of which, we've been thinking about setting up a Patreon.
It still sounds like a Pokemon to me.
I just dropped a significant amount of money, the entirety of my budget for this show, and then some for the year, upgrading our equipment and doing some things like that. So we're running dry here. If anybody wants to help support the show and you want to donate or do anything like that, we'd be interested to hear that you're interested in that.
Interested to hear that they're interested.
Yeah, I just dropped in to check on what condition my condition was in, man.
I love that song.
I just dropped in
to see what condition my condition was in.
There you go. A little bit of music, little taste for the masses.
Yeah, that's it. Give us some money, you'll get more.
Yeah. Seriously, if you guys pay us, we will do so much stuff. Like if we set up a Patreon and you guys are willing to donate like $5 a month, something like that, just enough to cover our expenses on gas and things like that. We've got a lot of ideas for shooting videos and putting them up on the channel. Both on the website and the Mi Casa Su Casa network. So we'd love to have some support. If you guys are interested in supporting us, we would welcome that. But let us know so that we can set up the Patreon and make sure that you get what you're paying for. Because basically the way Patreon works, for those of you that don't know,
including myself,
yeah, you pay our listeners could pay a monthly subscription, and we set what that price is. It could be $1 a month, it could be $5. I would, for my budgeting, if we have 5 or 6 people donating $5 to $10 a month, that would be well more than enough to cover our expenses. Just buying props and setting up and taking the, using the electricity to run the lights for the videos and all that stuff. So they could pay that. And what we will do in return for your donations,
a song and dance.
Basically, yeah. We what you can do through Patreon is you can upload. We'll upload separately, so it won't be on Podbean. It won't be on any of the other stuff. No one that doesn't donate.
Exclusive content, huh?
We'll have access. It'll be exclusive content just for those that are donating.
That love us.
Yep. That being said, thanks for joining us and listening in today. Like Jarrod said, we enjoyed having Niko here. We're excited about the future. And that's been Let's Talk Nonsense. Thanks for listening.
Toodles.